welcome everyone. My name is Nicole. I am the CPTP Program Associate. So I am going to go through our agenda this morning, but first we of course want to thank you all for joining us. We have an exciting keynote up ahead. So this morning we will go through our opening acknowledgements, which include our grounding, our gender pronoun acknowledgement, and a land acknowledgement. We're going to give you some background and information on Teach for LA's history, along with CPTP, for those of you who don't know what the Community Partnerships for Teacher Pipeline project is. And then we're going to jump straight into our keynote. So once again, we are so thrilled to have you here, and I am going to pass it over to Ruth.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ruth Ellis. I am the Director of Special Education and Student Support Initiatives, amongst other things, for the CPTP program with the Center for Collaborative Education. We're going to start off with our grounding. We start all of our sessions like this. The beauty of anti-racism is that you don't have to pretend to be free of racism to be anti-racist. Anti-racism is the commitment to fight racism wherever you find it, including in yourself, and it's the only way forward. Next slide. We also want to recognize that we are a community that welcomes gender of all genders and inclusive of gender nonconforming and transgender people, and having everyone identify with your gender pronouns helps us to welcome gender nonconforming and transgender people. So please, if you feel you need to, or when you feel you need to, indicate your gender pronouns in the chat or on your Zoom screen. Next slide. I want to also do our land acknowledgement. I ask you to join me in acknowledging the Tongva, Gabrielino, Chumash, and Quiche communities and others that you may name in the chat. We acknowledge that we are gathered on unceded lands and express our respect to the Tongva, Gabrielino, Chumash, and Quiche elders and community members, both past and present, as well as future generations. And our diversity, equity, and inclusion statement. Oops. As we know, diversity is all the ways in which people differ. Equity is fair treatment and access and advancement for all people, and one's identity cannot predict the outcome. And inclusion is the variety of people. A variety of people have power, a voice, and decision-making authority. And as I like to say, nothing about us without us. So I am so glad to be here and honored to be in everybody's presence. And now I will pass it over to Yvonne.
Welcome, welcome.
Oh, Leah, sorry.
Everybody. Our dear teachers and future educators. Remember, this is Teacher Appreciation Week. So, you know, I hope that you will take the time to appreciate your teachers, your faculty members, this week and every time. So my name is Leah Martinez, and it is my great honor and privilege to kick off our 7th Teach for LA Regional Virtual Workshop Series. I cannot express how excited and how happy we are to offer you this 2-day event filled with an array of relevant and exciting topics presented by our amazing team of experts. So today and tomorrow, we will share our knowledge, our expertise, and our passion for teaching as we explore new ideas and best practices that will help us better serve our students and our communities. So we want to thank you for being here with us today. Your presence really warms our hearts, and we are thrilled to offer you this opportunity to connect with you and learn with each other. We have an incredible lineup of events planned for you, and I promise that you won't want to miss any moment of it. We also have a special keynote, and I can't wait to introduce him to you. And after the keynote, we will have Q&A session, so please come prepared with your questions. We also have an exciting opportunity drawing that you won't want to miss, so make sure you stay with us throughout the event. And remember, you do have to be present to win. Okay, so I would also like to take a moment to share the story of how Teach for LA came to be. This story hasn't been shared a lot, so hopefully you will appreciate the story behind Teach for LA. So back in 2016, there were 11 community colleges that formed the Teach Los Angeles Regional Collaborative, or Teach LARC. And this was part of our project for the teacher preparation strong workforce regional in the LA region. Now, Teach for LA quickly became one of the highlights of our work. And it actually started with an in-person event. You can see it on the video right there. Our first in-person event in September 2019. It was held at Rio Hondo College, and we had a huge successful event with over 300 attendees. But when the pandemic happened in 2020, we had to rethink our approach. So at that time, as the lead of the Teach LARC, I remember meeting with the colleges, and each one of us had this big question of how we were going to continue to serve our students because all our in-person events were canceled. And I remember Rio Hondo actually planned a 1 week long event in May 2020 in celebration of Teacher Appreciation Week. And so I asked the colleges if they would be open to combining all of the workshops that we had already planned, put it together into one virtual regional conference. And of course, each one of us were really excited to serve our students even during the pandemic. So everyone was gung-ho about the idea. And that's when the virtual workshop series was born. And I'm telling you, it just caught fire. And our education students really liked it. They really loved it. And they were able to use the workshops as a way to complete their field hours. And I also received many emails from our students telling me how the event actually was a ray of sunshine during the pandemic. Our students and our teachers were in the process of doing remote learning and teaching. Human interaction was very rare and was very hard. And I remember this one student writing me about how she broke her leg during the pandemic and how she fell into depression. But Teach for LA actually helped her get out of that depression because she felt the connection of the people during the Teach for LA event. So, I'm telling you, I am so proud of the impact that Teach for LA has had for our students. Our workshops actually provided a much needed connection for our students and teachers during very difficult times. So in our first conference, we had over 1,000 people register in the different workshops. And in our second conference, we had about 1,600 participants, and it just kept growing. So much so that our Bay Area counterpart actually created their own Teach for the Bay. And that's how Teach for the Bay started. And I know some of you guys have also attended Teach for the Bay. And I do have to give our Bay Area counterpart credit because Teach for LA wasn't always called Teach for LA. As you can see on the flyer, on the slide, our Teach for LA, or our flyer didn't say Teach for LA. So that is the beginning of, calling it Teach for LA. And we wanted to have that synergy between Teach for LA and Teach for the Bay. So El Camino took over the leadership role later for the collaborative, and they did a really phenomenal job continuing the tradition of Teach for LA under the leadership of Yadira Aureliano, Renee Marshall, and Bobby Becca. So I would like to give a huge thank you to El Camino for continuing Teach for LA at that time. And of course, we missed offering one last year because our project ended at that time. But now with the support of the Community Partnerships for Teacher Pipeline, or CPTP, we are back with new energy and vigor to continue the tradition of excellence. And I'm excited to introduce Yvonne Rebus, the director of CPTP, who will give you more information about this fantastic partnership. So once again, welcome, and let's make this the best Teach for LA yet. Yvonne?
Thank you, Leah, for the wonderful overview of the conference background. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 7th Regional Teach for LA Conference. I am Yvonne Rebus with the Center for Collaborative Education, CCE. I serve as the Project Director for Community Partnerships for Teacher Pipeline, or better known as CPTP. We are so honored to co-host the virtual conference with Teach Los Angeles Regional Collaborative this year. For those of you who are not familiar with CPTP, it is an initiative to build a community-based teacher pipeline that strengthens the teaching profession by increasing the number of teachers of color. Funded by the U.S. Department of Education, supporting effective educators development or SEED grant, the project is a partnership among Rio Hondo College, El Camino College, Cerritos College, and CCE. CPTP is a humanistic, asset-based, and community-focused, teaching exploration program with a special focus on the highest teacher shortage areas of special education, STEM education, and early childhood education, teaching pathways that are well represented in the sessions of this conference. On this slide, the triangle on the left shows the 3 layers of the CPTP Enhanced Advisory Mentoring for Teaching Exploration. EAM is designed to increase equity in teacher education and foster retention in the teaching profession by prioritizing wellness and student-specific interests, goals, and needs. This allows for a more holistic view of the future teacher in their development. The first layer of EAM refers to one-on-one mentoring with a teacher mentor. Our mentors are current teachers in early childhood and PK through 16, employed at over 125 schools in the community. 82% of our mentors identify as people of color. The second layer is the cohort mentoring for the peer-to-peer support provided by success coaches. The CPTP success coaches proactively monitor student progress and follow up with them as needed. They also work with their own college administrative teams to improve programming structures, increase advocacy, and engage students through workshops. The third layer refers to community mentoring with the Teacher Mentoring Network, TMN. It is a dedicated space where all kinds of educators from pre-service to retired join us to nurture and celebrate the culture of mentoring and foster collaborations across individuals and organizations within the community in support of our mission of increasing the number of teachers of color. The circle on the right shows the wraparound program model and the components of teaching exploration in CPTP, including jobs in education, campus resources, a stipend per semester of participation, EAM logs for capturing learning and time spent in the exploration, and the 3 levels of engagement I mentioned before. Next slide, please. We are very proud of the CPTP team that you see on this slide. A special shout out to the Rio Hondo, El Camino, Cerritos, and the CCE teams who would work tirelessly to support the 300 pairs of students and mentors in the program through high-touch approach. We are grateful for everyone's diligence, care, and support for our students and mentors who deserve nothing less as they have taken on the most noble profession, in my opinion. CPTP is committed to serving future teachers who aspire to give back to their community by walking alongside of them on their journey to become teachers. On that note, I hope you have a fantastic experience in the conference, and I will pass the floor back to Leah.
All right, I'm so excited. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you our esteemed keynote speaker for the opening session, Dr. Steve Bautista. Not only do I consider Steve a friend and colleague, but I also deeply respect him for his unwavering commitment to teacher preparation in community colleges and beyond. As a former board member during Steve's tenure as president of ACCTEP, I can attest to his exceptional knowledge and passion for his work. Since 2000, Steve has served as a professor, counselor, and faculty program coordinator for the Center for Teacher Education at Santa Ana College, where he oversees the preparation of P-12 teachers and provides invaluable counseling services to students. Steve's expertise has been instrumental in securing over $20 million in federal and state grants and expanding curriculum, articulation, and transfer opportunities for SAC teacher education students. He currently is the vice president of ACCTEP and co-chair for the Regional Teacher Education Council in Southern California, and was previously an executive board member of NACCTEP. Steve's contribution to the field have not gone unnoticed. He was the recipient of the Santa Ana College Distinguished Faculty Award in 2015 and was honored by the Orange County Department of Education as one of 5 Orange County Teachers of the Year in 2017. Now, before joining Santa Ana College, Steve served as the Transfer Center Director at Fullerton College. He earned his bachelor's degree in psychology, master's degree in clinical psychology, and his doctorate in community college leadership, all from Cal State Fullerton. Yeah, go Titans. I'm a Titan myself. Beyond his impressive professional achievements, Steve is also a dedicated husband and father. In his free time, he enjoys running, indulging in all things Star Wars and Marvel on Disney Plus, and spending quality time with his lovely wife, Judy, and their 2 beautiful daughters. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Steve Bautista.
Thank you, Leah. Wow, that was quite an introduction.
Answer you before we're
Very,
like trying to
very
hurry up.
honored to be here. Excited to be with you. I love this work that you're doing at Teach for LA. Aspiring future educators is what I'm all about and have been about for a number of years, and excited and really honored to be invited to be the keynote speaker today. So I'm going to work through the technology here and start with sharing my screen and spend some time today, I think, really for kind of walking you through who I am a little bit, even though you got a little bit of the bio, talk to you about this idea of hope, how it feeds into our lives, how it feeds into our goals of becoming a teacher and the teaching profession. And along the way, talk story about my students, because they are the ones that really have inspired me through this entire journey. So I can probably guarantee I'll probably get emotional during this speech. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm a counselor by training, and that's part of the work that I do, is really just being with my students, and they've really inspired me in many, many different ways. And I hope that that message lands with you wherever we're at in your journey, whether you're one of my colleagues and peers that I see you in the audience, or a student on the pathway, or a current educator in the classroom, that this message lands with you. So the title is New Hope, and as you can imagine, it's from my love of Star Wars. And I'll start with who I am a little bit here. So I grew up in the 70s. So I was 9 years old when Star Wars came out. And that Star Wars, the whole series, the idea of hope and the story of hope kind of resonated with me for a long time. But I wasn't born in California. I was actually born in the state of Virginia. And I was born to a father who immigrated from the Philippines via the US Navy. He had come to this country to serve as part of the U.S. Navy, and we had landed on the East Coast. So he'd come to the East Coast, and he had met my mom, who was born in the United States of parents who had immigrated from Europe. They were escaping World War II and landed on the East Coast as well. My father met my mother on the East Coast in Maryland, and they got married. In the first 5 years of my life, I lived across the globe. I lived in California. We lived in Guam. We lived in other places as my father was deployed. But we ended up landing in Virginia when both my sister and I became school aged. And the picture of you see me is because I went to Catholic school. So the story there is Virginia, if you know the history of education, was one of the last states to actually desegregate their schools, right? Even though there was Brown versus Board of Education, Virginia was one of the states that actively resisted segregating the schools. And so when I started school, there was a public school right like a mile from my house. But the plan in Virginia was to bus students from their neighborhood to different parts of the city to integrate the schools. And so as a kindergartner, I was going on a 40-minute bus ride to a different part of the city to go to start public school. And for my parents, that didn't seem to work very well. And for me, driving on a bus for 40 minutes one way wasn't working. And so I got to go to the Catholic school, which was about another mile from my house up the street. So that's me in my Catholic school uniform. I'm not sure what grade I'm in, but I went to Catholic school, elementary, middle school, high school, all the way through. Kind of shaped me up quite a bit about my own education and how education is delivered. Long story short, my parents divorced when I was 10. My dad moved to California. And when I finished high school, he invited me to come to California to go to college. And I was, being someone from Virginia, I'm like, yeah, get me out. And so I ended up coming to California. And when I was in California, I attended university at Cal State Fullerton. That's where I met my wife. And then now this is us present day with my family and my 2 adult daughters. My wife was an educator. My oldest daughter is an educator. She's a speech language pathologist. And my youngest daughter is on the journey at university now. She's an English major, literature, highly involved with education policy. So I'm imagining she's on the journey as well. I think they just like life with summers off. So I'm imagining that they see that for their own lives as well. So a little bit about me and my story. Educationally, as Leah mentioned, I did bachelor's and master's at Cal State Fullerton together. When I was there, I finished my bachelor's degree in psychology, did a master's in clinical psychology, and then came back for the doctorate. And then I've spent most of my professional career at Santa Ana College. I was hired here in 2000, and in my role as a professor and counselor and program coordinator, I get to work with students who are amazing. The students at SAC are amazing. Community college students, I think, are amazing in general. And I get to teach classes called things like careers in teaching, college orientation. But the most favorite part of my job is working with students in my office day by day, working with them on developing their goals and dreams into academic plans, and then working with them throughout their careers and their futures as those plans get actualized. So that's kind of who I am and kind of shaped my experience and who I come to today. So as I share with you, the students I work with are amazing. I've had the opportunity to work with so many students who are now educators, and this is kind of a collage of students who have come to the conference that we host every year and have returned to Santa Ana College to share their journeys. And I'm inspired by them, by their work and their what they want to do in terms of serving their community and how they work with their students. And even, being someone as a counselor who gets to meet a lot of these people when they start college and to watch them progress, it's a really amazing journey to see educators kind of form their identities while they're in college and to work and to see them work in their professional lives. And I guess the first tip I would encourage you as a future educator or as any educator is that relationships are really, really important. right? And so the fact that I can maintain these relationships with my students over the years, I think really shows a testimony of how they have entrusted me as an educator and how I have shared, hopefully believed in them. And over the time, I think we've really inspired each other in a lot of different ways. And I can tell you stories about all of these pictures that are on your screen. For example, in the top left corner, that's Sarai. Sarai is an educator, but she's also been recently in the news. About a month and a half ago, she was in the news about, she's a teacher, and she was pregnant, but she also was experiencing breast cancer. And Channel 7 did a news story on her about how she was receiving chemotherapy while she was pregnant, and they were doing cutting edge treatment on her as she was pregnant. Her baby was born and the baby was clearly healthy, but she wanted to be a role model for others to stand out and say that this can be done while you are, going through this, and as a source of strength for others. And so it's really remarkable. When I look at my students, I look to see what the strengths that they have and what they bring to their professional lives, and how they've inspired me is also really cool. And so this has shaped my journey over the 20 years that I've been doing this work. They inspired me in a lot of different ways. On the top right corner is Alondra Diaz. She was also a student at Santa Ana College, and she also happens to be the 2022 California Teacher of the Year. And so I happened to get to work with Alondra when she was a student here, and watch her progress through her career, and now to be the state representative and state teacher of the year is freaking amazing. And for her to come back to talk to our students about what she's learned and who she is super cool as well. So I've been super blessed to do this work, and I'm inspired by my students. I'm inspired by the work that they do, just as I'm inspired by all of you. In 2015, as Leah mentioned, I was selected as a distinguished faculty member at Santa Ana College. And how that works at Santa Ana College is you get nominated, and then you submit an application, and then you become a finalist, and then if you are selected by your peers, you actually win. So I was actually nominated 4 times, very grateful to be nominated. I was a finalist 3 times. And so I never thought I was actually going to win. And then when I was the 3rd time finalist, the person I was up against, one of the people I was up against was actually like our baseball coach, who was nationally recognized. He teaches for he coaches for I think the Olympic team. He was the most winningest coach in California community college history. I'm thinking, okay, never going to win this award. And I finally, and I was totally shocked when I got the award. And so at Santa Ana College, when you win that award, your name actually gets nominated to the Orange County Department of Education, to where then you actually begin to you compete for Orange County Teacher of the Year with other community colleges. And so I was very grateful and shocked and humbled to win 2017 Orange County Teacher of the Year. And this is a picture of me at Disneyland Hotel with Mickey and Minnie, where they really celebrate these educators in a really profound and really cool way. And one of the other ways in which they celebrate you is they create a video of you, kind of your journey and like who you are as an educator. And I want to share that journey, share that video with you to give you a glimpse of who I am. But also, when they interview you, they also ask to interview your students. And so you have to select several of your students for them to interview without you seeing any of it. And you just pray that they say good things about you. And then you see the video that night when they announce you, when they present you with the award, and you're there at the Disneyland Hotel, and you see this video for the first time. And I was really moved by the video, particularly the way what the students shared about me and my impact on them. And I want to share that with you. And I want you to pay close attention to the words that they talked about, the words of impact. And so let me stop sharing this and reshare the screen. Where'd it go? Here.
Our faculty speaker. And this year, Steve Bautista has been selected for this honor.
Good evening, guests, parents and loved ones, administrators, fellow faculty. I started my community college career here. I was a graduate student here at Santa Ana College when I was in grad school, and I got a sense of what the student population was like. And Santa Ana College is a very unique place. We are like a hope factory here on the corner of 17th and Bristol.
He brings to the college just this passion for students that you don't find very many places, but he goes beyond that. He has been a successful grant writer. He's been successful in establishing the conference for future teachers.
Steve is not a 9-to-5er. Steve is 24/7, inspired by his students and working really, really hard. We call him the multi-million-dollar man because of all the money he brings to our school that benefits our students.
So that's the reason why I write so many grants, is because our students' needs are huge. And so being able to provide external resources for them to buy their books, to go to universities, to get hooked up with a mentor teacher on their path of becoming a teacher. How many of the first time you go to college? Right, yeah, so you guys are sharing this experience together. So the idea of building a community of friends here who are on the same journey as you is extremely important that you do that. That's why we have a lot of these orientations and opportunities for you to get together, to talk to other students, to get to know them, so that you can share the journey.
He believes in the future. He's a very positive person and talks openly about hope and why we're here. And he's very inspirational that way. But I think he's in the very perfect position for himself, because developing teachers is the over and above passion to what he does.
He believes in all of his students, regardless of where they come from or what path they've been in life. He pushes his students to be better people. When I would call him, he would always be like telling me, you know what, why don't you think about coming back to school? Why don't you consider, taking again the steps that you need to take to get to your degree?
They come to school with their lives in their hands and in their backpacks. And so you can't get away from asking them about their lives and how that's impacting their time here. And some of our students' lives are very difficult and very complicated.
I applied to the college again, and here I am again, picking up where I left off. But it was due to him, really believing in me, because I didn't even believe it.
I think of the counselors as partners, actually more than like I'm supervising them. So I think he's an amazing partner. And I think his innovation, his creative ideas, just a passion, the enthusiasm, excitement that he generates with others is something that you can't package that, you can't buy that, you can't put that in a bottle, but he's got it.
I love the energy of pairing with faculty members who are outside of my discipline to really help connect the dots for students.
He's caring, he's professional, very strong work ethic, and motivating. And he was always encouraging us to prepare for that next step in our careers. And so I worked with him after I got my bachelor's degree. And while I was getting my master's degree in counseling, I switched from teaching to counseling, I think because of my experiences as a student here.
I got a scholarship to go to Missouri, a running scholarship. And the first person I asked them was Steve. Steve, they're offering me this. It's a free tuition for 2 years until I graduate. What do I do? Right away, he told me, go, Edmund, go.
A great thing about Steve is he's a family man, and he's able to juggle both of those, home life and being at work. But when we're out running, it's nice to see Steve come out and run with us and talk about, hey, here's my family's doing. My daughter's going to San Diego State. My other daughter's involved in this, and he's so proud of his family.
I run for stress relief, and in 2014, I ran and finished the LA Marathon. Finishing a marathon, you just feel like Superman. I can do anything. I think that's maybe a good metaphor for our students. They come to our college and they think, wow, college degree, I don't think I could ever do that. But they come here, and on commencement day, when they're walking in their caps and gowns, feeling so proud, I imagine that they feel, I can do anything. So yeah, pretty emotional to watch that, to see that, what your students say, what your peers say about you is really powerful. And one of the words that kind of resonate with me when I hear this is it's inspiring, right? So to inspire someone, I believe, is like the ultimate compliment. It means that simply by what you have done, simply living like your life, what you do, you make an impact on another human being. And I think that's a really important thing that we have to remember as educators and as humans, is that we impact others, a ripple effect, right? And I share this picture of Lupita, who was actually in the video. I've known Lupita since she was a freshman at Santa Ana College. And through her journey, it took her 10 years to get through Santa Ana College. She started a family along the way. She had a lot of challenges, immigration issues, all those kinds of things, but she finished. And she inspires me, and to know that she would talk about not believing in herself, but getting that belief from interactions with educators really inspires me in a lot of ways. So being inspired by my students, I ended up going back to school about when I was 47 to go back to get the doctorate degree because I hadn't finished my goals and dreams. So I went back, and in 2020, I finished my doctorate, and that's me in the lockdown in my living room, defending my dissertation with my family on the couch and, you know, me in my house. So that was an amazing moment for me. And when you do a dissertation and you do a doctorate, you have to do a study. And you have to choose a study that you want us to really research and a topic you want to research. I really wanted to research my students and the journey that my students take and really understand kind of what the challenges, the things that help them become successful. And so I wrote a dissertation on the experience of Latinx community college students who begin assigned teachers who begin in community college. And I wanted to look at one of the factors besides academic factors. So I wanted to look at this idea of hope and how hope plays a role in the journey of community college students. And so that's kind of the formative spot where I'll begin here with my interest in this topic, and kind of we'll go from here. So for me, hope has been, you know, something it's actually all around all of us, right? It's in our movies, it's in the TV shows that we watch, it's in the music that we listen to, it's in our faith. So hope is part of who we are as a society. And, you know, with the idea of believing in happy endings, you know, Disney, those are the kinds of things where hope is kind of part of the experience of being a human. It's really powerful. It's something that can transform who you are and what you end up becoming. It's also something that you can give away to others. And I think hope is a really powerful thing. And it's something that I think that we take for granted sometimes, but it's something that's so valued and needed, particularly in today's world where you get so much negativity and so many things that are coming at us that make us feel unhopeful or hopeless. We need more hope and the ability to have individuals, you know, share that hope with others. I think as educators, that's one of the things that we can do in our classrooms is ensure that our students walk out, no matter what kind of day that they had or what kind of, you know, things are going through their lives and their challenges, is that they actually have hope, right? And if you think about that, you think about all these things that happen in schools today, some of the mass shootings and things that are negative in schools, right? If we could promote more hope and have our students go through schooling with a sense of, I know who I am, I believe in myself, and I have hope, what a difference that would make for our society, right? So the two folks that I kind of looked at when I did my study were these individuals, Rick Snyder and Shane Lopez, and they are the ones that did a lot of hope theory I'll talk about in just a second. But Rick Snyder talks about hope as a life-sustaining force that's rooted in our relationship with our future. Shane Lopez talks about we think about our future and how we hope it determines how we live our lives, right? So hope is a really powerful predictor of our future, and it's something that can really influence our future. So my question to you is, how hopeful are you about your future, right? And where does that hope come from? Does it come from our heart? Come from our head? Does it come from our spirituality? Where does it come from for you in terms of thinking about the hope that you have for your future? In Snyder's hope theory, it's interesting to think of how he unpacks hope. And because in your dissertation, you have to do scholarly work, and Snyder studied hope back in the late 90s. And he talked about hope having three main components. One are goals, right? So if you're going to have hope, you have to have goals that you are trying to achieve, trying to attain, right? And in those goals, there are two factors that will lead you to those goals. One is agency or motivation, right? That you have this internal or this motivation to reach those goals. And then also the third component is that there's pathways, that you have a clear understanding that there are pathways that you can get to those goals. And that even when there's obstacles, that you have the ability or the knowledge or the strength to get around those obstacles to reach those goals, right? So in specifically or simply stated, hope is the process of thinking about one's goals along with the motivation to move towards those goals and the ways to achieve those goals. So having goals, having the motivation to pursue them, and having pathways that you're going to, in order to reach them. And that's kind of the basis of Snyder's hope theory. So in terms of how this plays out, and he did a lot of research in schools with students. He talked about high hope students. And then the hope, actually, the two things that really matter in hope are most important are the motivation, having the high motivation and high pathway thinking as well. Those two things kind of play into having high hope and having low hope. High hope students have higher GPAs. As you can imagine, they have higher graduation rates. They're going to finish, lower dropout rates, higher perceived self-worth, scholastic competence, social competence, and creativity. High hope students report greater academic interpersonal satisfaction. They have greater problem-solving skills when navigating through pathways and problems, and they use fewer disengagement strategies when they hit a wall, right? They don't give up, right? They don't disconnect. They actually pursue beyond, and continuing on to try to reach those goals, right? And on the opposite, low hope students experience more frustration. They lose confidence, or they give up when they encounter like barriers, that they're obstacles that they can't feel like that they can achieve, go over, or move forward from. They experience more anxiety, and they're more likely to be sidetracked by goal blocking thoughts during exams when they encounter difficult classes. And so if you think low motivation, low pathway thinking, low hope, those two things lead to these kinds of behaviors or these kinds of things in a student's life. And that kind of just makes sense, right? And so how do we move to become high hope individuals? And it starts with goals, right? So, and as a counselor, I love this because that's what I do with students. We do goal setting, and we talk about, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Where do you want to transfer to? What degree you want to get? What kind of career do you want? And that's really, really important. And as students, if you're on this journey, it's important that you have goals that are both personally meaningful to you and motivating to you, right? You can't be living somebody else's dreams. You can't be living somebody else's goals. And sometimes that happens. Our goals get placed on us by others because of others' expectations, but we really need to focus on our goals, right? And they need to be goals in multiple areas, not just in academics. It needs to be in our career, in our personal life, our social life, in our physical, maybe our physical well-being, our social or spiritual well-being. Because we have multiple goals in multiple areas, then if things aren't working out in one area, we're not going to lose hope. We can still have hope because things are going to be progressing in other areas. So it's really important that those kinds of things come into your own goal setting, and we're working with individuals to want to try to create more hope, is that we have really, strong, measurable, achievable goals. And then there's four core elements of hopeful thinking, and one begins with these first two begins with agency thinking, this idea of motivation, right? So we have to have this idea, one, we have to believe that the future will be better than the present, right? And this is not just like optimism. This is actually like really, that, oh, it's all going to be fine. It's actually believing that, right? Right. And the second piece is what you make you believe in it is because you have the power to make it so, right? You have the agency and you have the ability by what you can control to make things better, right? And that's, there's a lot of things that happen in life, but if we have this belief that things are going to be better and I have some capacity to make it better, then that leads to more hopeful thinking. Kobe Bryant, sports is a big metaphor for this, right? And sometimes we block our motivation. Our motivation gets blocked because there's either fear or pain, right? It gets into the way, whether it's emotional pain, physical pain, whatever that might be, psychological pain, but Kobe Bryant talks about this idea of pain. It doesn't tell you when you ought to stop. Pain is that little voice in your head that says you need to push forward, because if you push forward, you're going to change. Right? You will be a different person if you move past that pain point. If you move past the challenge, you will change in terms of your own ability, your belief in yourself. As I talked about, finishing a marathon, you feel like you believe to do anything. That's part of the change that you want to believe is changing the mindset about what you can do and what you can believe in. I started running when I was after my 40s. I hated running. I did not like running, despised running. I played sports in high school, but I did not like the running aspect of it. But I decided I needed to get off the couch. So I decided to pick up running. I couldn't run a mile without stopping, but I just kept going and kept persisting. And then in 2012, I ran my first 8K, which is about 5 miles in distance. And I'm pretty sure that kid behind me in that picture beat me. He's like 10 years old, but that was fine because I was running. And that kind of led me to this idea of pushing myself in new and different ways physically. And then this is in 2015, this is a picture of me finishing my second marathon. That's 26.2 miles. So never believing I could run to running 2 marathons was an amazing thing, an amazing way for me to push myself in new ways. And I got to this idea of knowing how strong that I was, right? So knowing you're stronger than you believe you are. The second piece, or the final 2 elements of hope thinking are this guy of pathway thinking, right? So we have motivation thinking, agency thinking, pathway thinking. And you have to believe that there are many paths to your goals and that none of them there will be free from obstacles. And you have to know that and know that you're going to run into obstacles and believe that you can push past. And I think that's an important part of the equation in pathway thinking. And this journey that you're on in terms of your career goal may seem like a long one, and there may be a lot of a lot of challenges, but you definitely want to be able to push past them and know that you can push past them and know that there's a plan to move forward, right? Becoming a teacher is not easy. It's a challenge, and we put a lot of those things in front of you, a lot of hurdles in front of you as an educator, right? Future educator. So many different credentials, so many steps of the process, but knowing that each step is going to get you closer to that journey is really important, and one that you really need to hang on to and keep moving forward as you progress through, and reward yourself for each of the challenges that you make. Each semester that you finish, each goal that you achieve, things that you move forward with are part of your pathway of becoming a teacher, right? The other piece to this is that, if you're a community college student, there are going to be milestones along your journey, right, that you can be hopeful for and plan for. Getting your AA degree, getting your bachelor's degree, getting your credential, right? All of these are different steps along the journey that are going to help you understand that there are significant pieces to this journey. So just know that you can divide this journey up and be hopeful along the way and create a sense of agency and motivation as you reach each of your goals. As a counselor, I use the ED plan. This is a tool that I use very often to develop the hope for my students. Is fall semester, what are you taking? Spring semester, we kind of map it all out so the student knows kind of, okay, each step along the way, I'm getting closer to my goal. And so if you don't have a counselor, I really encourage you to connect with a counselor, to meet with them regularly so that you can set a plan up like this so you know exactly what you're doing, where you're going, so that you can take the right classes and not be thwarted from your goal, but actually moving towards it and creating that hopeful thinking that you need. Teaching hope to our children is also really important. It's important that we need to help children have hopeful thinking when they're in the classroom, right? And how they can also achieve their goals. And I think it's really important, and Lopez talks about this, and I'm going to give you a list of resources, of references when I'm done, very specifically how teachers can do this. And so it's really important, I think, that as educators, you not only have hope, but you think about how you're going to do that with your students in your classrooms. Strategies to enhance hope, again, asking students to have goals and create goals for themselves, encouraging that agency, telling them that they can do it, right, believing in them, and then helping them plan whatever that they're doing, short-term or long-term, with goals and with timelines and actions they could take at specific points along the way. I wanted to switch a little bit from that hope theory to a different hope theory, and I need everybody to write down this reference, right? Jeff Duncan Andrade, Note to Educators, Hope Required when Growing Roses in Concrete, right? Lopez's theory of hope, Snyder's theories of hope was built in the 2000s, but it wasn't built in the context of understanding urban conditions or the societal inequities that pretty much reside in most communities. Duncan Andrade's theory of critical hope takes all that into account. And he looks at it from a different lens, from a CRT, critical race theory lens, and looks at all the societal factors in a way, and looks at hope in a way that educators can do this for their children. And he decided that hope is not a noun or a thing, that hope is actually a verb. It's something that we do as educators, right? And there's things that we do in our lives that sometimes can create false hope or be enemies of hope. If they are not true, if they're hokey, if they're mythical, like, oh, we don't see race, or, oh, Obama became president, so race doesn't matter in America, right? Those kinds of things, if we bring those into the classroom, those create a false hope for our students, right? But instead, we have to create critical hope. And that's offering resources and services to students. We have to be agents of hope, where we stand with our students, we provide them with the resources that we need and bring them to the resources. We must show them how to overcome some of these inequities, or when they encounter challenges or barriers with financial aid or whatever that might be, that we show them how to act in ways that are going to overcome those barriers. And we stand in our institutions and protect them from some of these things and assist them in really getting to that next step in their journey by helping either change policies or to work within our classrooms or to do things that actually show them that we believe in them. And that we stand in solidarity with them, and that these are not other people's children that we're teaching, that these are our children, folks that we have to believe in, and we have to be the ones who make a difference for in our classrooms. And this idea that you see the picture of the roses growing out of concrete is the metaphor that he uses. It comes from Tupac Shakur. It's that, the conditions are the cement and the students are the roses coming through the cracks. And we are the educators opening the cracks and standing in the cracks and holding the cracks so our students can rise. So it's a really powerful metaphor, powerful powerful paper. I need you to read it if you're going to become a teacher. And I'm going to end with this. I'll close with this. This idea of hope generates hope. So again, I get to work with amazing students, and Tam was one of those students that really opened my eyes to what the power of this can really look like. Tam, this is a kind of a sad story. Tam was a SAC student. She came here from Garden Grove Unified School District into Santa Ana College. She was very passionate with social justice issues. She ended up transferring to UCLA, but her condition, her immigration situation was really unique. She was born in Germany. Her parents from Vietnam were left Vietnam, but they landed in Germany when they fled as a refugee. They came to the United States. So she was not a United States citizen. Her parents were not United States citizens, but they were stateless. They had no place to go, right? So they came to the United States and they tried to get refugee status, but they were denied refugee status. So they were undocumented immigrants in our country. So even though she was Asian, and most likely a lot of people think that those are only our Latinx students, but she was Asian in that situation. But she understood where she was at, and she used her positionality and her ability and her desire to make her community better to really push forward. She went to UCLA and she connected with this individual named Cynthia Felix, another student, and they did remarkable things. And I want to show you a little video about the work that she did. Sadly, Tam died in 2010. She got killed in a car accident on the East Coast, her and Cynthia, sorry. But her journey is one that I think is really important, and it stands out to me in my career, and I hope it inspires you in a new way too. Sorry. I know I'm short on time.
My name is Kent Wong. I'm the director of the UCLA Labor Center. Tam Tran and Cynthia Felix were students of mine at UCLA, and Tam became the first undocumented student to work with us here at the UCLA Labor Center. Tam and Cynthia were extraordinary young women. Not only were they brilliant students, but they were leaders, and both were involved in the undocumented student organization at UCLA and were among the first in the country to publicly proclaim that they were undocumented and unafraid.
I'm Susan Melgarejo Morales. I am a math teacher here in LA. I first met Cynthia Felix the summer of 2003. We were starting our freshman year at UCLA, and we were part of the same summer program. And we formed a support group for undocumented students and allies. Cynthia was extremely hardworking, determined, resourceful, active. If there wasn't a path for her to do something, she would create a path.
Breathing about
was a very unique person. She was the only Asian member of our student group for a while. She was very cool. Even how she dressed, everybody was like, whoa, that's like a trendsetter right there. She was very artsy. She was very, she was into literature. Tam and Cynthia were very different, but they were my best friends. And they will probably still be my best friends if they were still here today.
They were activists, and they were leaders of the national movement to fight for the rights of immigrant youth.
We started, participating in protests, staging like mock graduations and talking about our stories.
This is at a time when there was no protections whatsoever for undocumented immigrant youth. And so for them to go public with their stories took a risk. They risked arrest and deportation. And so they were instrumental in bridging the relationships between immigrant youth activism here in California and immigrant youth activists in the East Coast.
We started doing workshops to help high school students in LA or train college counselors as about the resources available to all students, including undocumented students. From that, we heard about the DREAM Act. It was a bill that would grant citizenship to kids that grew up here who were brought to the US by their parents or on their own and are American in every way.
Tam Tran testified in a hearing before the US Congress on the federal DREAM Act. And following her testimony, ICE raided her parents' home and took in her parents and her younger brother and began deportation proceedings. Even at that very traumatic time, she organized a national campaign to free her parents and to free her brother, and she succeeded.
I remember waking up that morning, hearing the news from the cops. They called me on the phone. It was so hard. My heart sunk. I felt sick afterwards.
They were tragically killed at the hands of a drunk driver.
It crushed me and it crushed a lot of people, but it didn't crush the movement. It had the opposite effect. People were so inspired and so motivated by their stories.
Their impact is still being felt to this day. The things that Tam and Cynthia were fighting for 10 years ago are the things that immigrant youth today are continuing to fight for.
Because of them. People are living out their dreams. People are, doctors and filmmakers and actors and actresses and everything, that they ever want to be. And it was because of people like them that paved the way for that to happen.
We have a situation where children are being caged along the US-Mexico border, where families are being torn apart, where immigrants are being threatened with deportation. And so these are things that Tam and Cynthia experienced in their lives, but they were never victims, they were never martyrs. What Tam and Cynthia represent is among the finest young leaders that have come through our university. And so it is so appropriate as part of this centennial celebration that we are honoring the legacy of Tam Tran and Cynthia Feliz.
So that story pushes really home for me. Tam sat right here in the chair. She was my student for 3 years. And at 2010, after she passed away, a year later, the fight continued and AB 130 and AB 131 passed. And those were laws in California that gave undocumented students access to scholarships and the fee waiver, the California Promise Grant. So every student that I see now in this seat is a testament to her work, right, as a student. Hope is contagious. Hope reverberates. It moves into other spaces. As educators, if you are a hope-filled educator or teacher, you can share hope with your students. And this idea of roses growing out of concrete, Duncan Andrade had another really great metaphor that if we grew these roses in the concrete and we had many, many roses, it would be roses growing a rose garden in our communities. And so I'm going to stop there and pull up and just say thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me be here today. Thank you for letting me share my story, the story of my students. And I just encourage you on your journey to do this work. Do this work. Be hopeful yourself and spread hope to others. Thank you.
Steve, thank you so much. I'm not crying, you're crying, but I think what a wonderful way. Thank you for sharing this. This hit really hit home for me. And so I never knew who it was for. So this is like new to me to see the people who actually to put a name to it. But I was in college and I paid the $325 per unit before we even had AB 540 and these new. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I think we have some time for question and answer. If you guys have any questions or just any comments, to Steve, you can unmute yourself or you can put it on the chat as well. And you're getting a lot of thanks, Steve, on the chat and love, definitely.
I'm going to drop into the chat a reference guide that I can share with you all that has all my references. So it has Duncan Andrade's research. It has Snyder's research. So it has these videos, a link to the videos so people can grab it if they would like to.
Thank you so much. I was about to ask you that, Steve, just so that I can share too with my students. I think I really, really, really want to honor that. And I do want to show that.
Also, after our Q&A, we're going to do a couple of things, so stay with us. Somebody said that they're just so glad they weren't going to join us today, and because of you, Steve, they're so glad they came. Hope is the only thing that we have. Just some comments in the chat. We also have just how inspirational your talk was. Just sharing a few comments.
Thank you for showing me my education in this field is worth bringing a brighter future to the next generation.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve. That was really powerful and made me and Yadira definitely cry. I had to.
I know, man, every conference, I'm not gonna cry. Well, for sure I wasn't, but then when he started, I was like, oh, here we go.
We do have one question. Oh, the recording will be available. We will be sending this out probably sometime early next week or in the next week or so, because we're going to wait till everything's completed for the next 2 days. But we do have a question. This is from someone in the chat, how can we support more collaboration with colleagues in the fight against problematic systems? Great question. Thank you. Let's, if you have a moment to comment on that.
Sure. I think, someone told me really early on in my career that relationships are more important than accomplishments, right? And so in this field of education, building relationships is really an important thing, not only with your students, but also with your peers and with other places that you interact with, right? And I think when we have that, building relationships and building the familiarity and building the trust and building the connections is when we can begin to tackle the really, really difficult policy changes, the systemic things that need to happen, because they can't happen individually, they have to happen collectively. And so being a source of positivity and hope and knowledge in your area can resonate with your peers. And I think building that relationship wherever you are and whatever position that you're at can help that process move smooth. There's this idea of the speed of trust, right? If we can trust the people that we're working with, then they're more likely to engage in change behavior. And so I think that's part of it, is having strong relationships with the people that you're working with and you're around. And then throughout your career, I also tell my students, be nice to everybody, right? Because you never know who's going to be your boss one day. And because I'm in education, I have actually worked with students who have become into the community college system. And one of my former students is actually a college president. And so, yeah, you got to be nice to everybody because they can be your boss one day. So be nice to everybody, build those relationships, and hopefully try to go after some of these more challenging policies and practices and systemic things collectively.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you, Steve. That also reminds us as individuals, we're always looking at hope for us, but also we are hope for other people, and we don't always realize it. So definitely appreciate that. We have another question. What is your favorite student age group that you've taught during your career?
Sure, yeah. So when I was on my journey, I did multiple settings, right? I was in multiple settings. I worked with children in elementary age. Then I worked in a high school, actually continuation school for a while. But it wasn't until I landed at a community college that I really found the setting and the people that I stick with that really kept connected with me. So, you know, elementary age students have different needs than college students. And so for sure, for me, working in a college setting has really been the place that I've thrived. I really had a good positive college experience myself. And so being to work in a college and to be with students who are around that same age and in that same formation of life and who am I and what are my career goals has really been something that's really connected and resonated with me. And I just love it every day. It's you know, and the community college, it's, you know, we are, the world comes to community college regardless of age and background, and they show up and they want to better themselves. And so that's for me has been, that's really the positive spot for me. So yeah, but I think I encourage individuals to try different settings to figure out where you best connect so that you feel like you're making the best difference and where your gifts and your talents fit the setting in the most important way. Great question though.
Thank you. Hi, actually, I had a question. My name is Jacob. My question is, for me, I've had moments where, well, teaching, for the longest, I've always wanted to teach, but I've had moments in my life where sometimes I don't lose motivation, but it's hard. It's sometimes hard to kind of look towards or look, you know, who to have as a mentor. So, I mean, if anything, do you have any, not necessarily, I mean, tips, but ways that helped you to kind of, you know, pick your head up and, you know, push you forward in times of struggle?
Yeah, thanks for asking. That's a really, really great question. Yeah, finding individuals who share your goals and share your dreams, like in school, right? Peers, I think is a really good place to connect with. Because sometimes we do get derailed, life derails us and our motivation drops down, right? Particularly in the academic areas. But if you have peers who are on the same journey as you and they're moving towards the same goals, then connecting with them and helping them kind of like pump you up and build you up is a really good thing to do. Having professionals in the field, the area that you want to go into is also another really important way to kind of keep motivated. You can just check in with them in terms of, you know, your direction and where you're going if you feel stuck. But also I think sometimes we get stuck in like procrastination is also another form of like not moving forward of motivation. So making sure you're doing something, right? Feeling productive in the work. And maybe you have a huge project that you have to get done and it's like, I'm not motivated to do that. But if you just break it into small tasks to get done and move forward in those tasks, then you feel like you're moving forward in some way, right? And sometimes you're going to get that synergy and, you know, things will pick up, but sometimes just taking that first step to get over the hurdle or the first step to get started on a project or the, you know, whatever you get stuck is just making that first move is sometimes the hardest. And we kind of have to figure out like, maybe sometimes why are we stuck? Is it just motivation? Is it fear? Is it something that we're like unaware of or unsure of? Like, and so trying to figure out also why we're stuck in motivation is also an important thing. And then having people you can check in with, multiple people you can check in with, and having folks that you can connect with who are in the positions where you want to be to reflect back on you, how you can give you the tools and the pathways around the problem. That's the whole pathway mentality, right? The pathway agent, the pathway motivation is having ways around things where we get stuck. But good question. It happens to me too. That's why I got into running. I was really burnt out professionally doing this work. And so I needed a new outlet. And so running was my outlet. And then seeing myself progress in running allowed me to feel a sense of satisfaction and hope, and then back into my professional life. So finding ways to do that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We have a question in the chat, and then I see Yadira had her hand up.
Oh, yeah, I was just
Um,
gonna say I'm in competition with Steve. He doesn't know it, but I look at every morning how much he runs, which then I internalize and think of what I haven't done. And so then I go work out. And so I honestly want to tell you, Steve, that's really why I started working out again.
So I posted on Instagram is because, like, you know what, someone's gonna see this and hopefully get motivated.
Yes.
Something, right?
Thank you. And it motivates you. So then I get up and I'm like, no, if Steve's already running almost a mile, I can't come on. I can work out 20 minutes.
Well, we all know how important wellness is, and I kind of heard a lot of themes of wellness within the hope, right? Like how you set all those goals and personal and all of those things. So thank you, Steve. We do try to focus on wellness as part of CPTP. We have a few more minutes. We are going to start our opportunity drawing very shortly, so stick around. And as Yadira said, we also have an amazing session coming up at 11. We have another question. What advice would you give older students like myself graduating from college at 36 and on your way to UCLA at 37? Thank you, Leslie. Appreciate that brave question.
Congratulations, Leslie. That's a huge accomplishment. And so you're already on the journey, right? And so I applaud you and admire you. And, you know, it was interesting to me when I went back to school. So I did my bachelor's and master's together when I was younger and kind of finished all of that. And then decided to go back to school at 47 with a family, right? And so having to navigate working full time in a family and school, right? Really, I really felt for students who are returning to school you know, doing it with juggling lots of multiple obligations. And so I applaud you in that effort. I think for me, in terms of like, it's just making sure that you carve space for all the things that are really important to you, right? So if you have things that are really important and school is important to you too, that you keep space for all of those things, because otherwise, if not, then things get out of order and you're going to feel stress because things are kind of out of order when your values aren't aligned. So if family is important to you, make sure you carve time for family. If self-care or at school, make sure you kind of create time for all of those things. And for me, it was a schedule, being on a schedule, if you can kind of build a schedule. But then also the final thing is just belief in yourself, that you belong there, right? You belong at UCLA because you earned a spot there. And age is, you know, it's important in the journey, but it's not the only thing, right? It's just a number, right? And the fact that you are pursuing your dreams, continue to pursue your dreams at whatever age is really a testament to who you are as a human. You know, your pursuit of becoming the best you can become. People ask me that, like, what are you gonna do with a doctorate? What do you want to become with a doctorate? You gonna become an administrator? You're gonna become a president? And I was like, no, I just want to become the best me. I want to become the best Steve that I can become. And education provides that window into myself and gives me the knowledge to be able to help others and be the best who I am. And so you're on that quest too. You're going to do it at UCLA at a prestigious school that's going to, I think, hopefully, you know, help you like see, just like it did for Tam and Felix, like and Cynthia, like what the world can provide and have resources at your fingertips. And so I just say, take it all on, you know, yeah, and be an inspiration to others, So congratulations.
Thanks, Steve. If I could piggyback on that, my journey was a little bit similar, had some similarities. I did the whole 4 years of college right out of high school and thought I was done. And then I came out to California and went back to school for my teaching credential at, 20 something. But then I went back for my master's at 30, having a son with special needs and having the support of my family and the people, surrounding myself with people who could lift me up and empower me to do that as well. And then I went back at, oh gosh, I want to say almost 50 for my teacher ed specialist credential. So we all are on that journey, and our paths, are revealed to us with each accomplishment. And accomplishments may not be in the form of, what you think they might be, and then they reveal them to us. And having that circle of support and vision definitely can, sustain us through anything. As you said, it's not about the number, although the number can also give you perspective. Being a little older in college can also give you some amazing perspective. So you go, whatever age you're at.
All right. I think with that, we want to thank Steve again. Thank you, Steve, for being here. We definitely picked the right keynote. That was so powerful. And we thank you so much for being here, Steve. All right. Are we going to move to our opportunity drawing? Is everyone ready? You do have to be present to win. So thank you for staying with us. All right. I'm going to share my screen. Go ahead, Ruth.
Yeah, as Leah is sharing her screen, we do have a couple of like norms for this. So as she said, you have to be present to win. And when you win, I will be messaging you directly what's called a swag exit ticket. And when you win, in order to receive your goodie, you need to complete the swag exit ticket. We tested it today. It works. You will only get that swag exit ticket if you win. If we miss you, please let us know. So we hope that you will help us out. Sandra, you don't need to sign up. We have your names already in there if you registered. So you will be getting your swag exit ticket whenever the name comes up. And then we'll be contacting you on how to send that to you.
Okay, Ruth, just to let you know, Yadi had to go. He had, okay, all right.
I'll try to get what we need to do. So I'm going to be putting the swag exit ticket.
All right, if everyone's ready, here we go. This is our first prize. It is a USB drive, an Apple drive from ACCCTEP, donated to you by Rio Hondo College. So, okay, can everybody see the wheel of names? Can you guys see it? Can you give me a thumbs up? Okay, great.
Yes.
All right, thank you, thank you. All right, here's our first winner. Indira Cristobal. All right, Erindira, are you here?
Is it
No?
Erendia? It's not coming up.
Okay.
I'm gonna do it again.
One more time.
Must be present to win.
Marissa Quintero.
Marissa, are you here? We lost quite a few people.
Yeah, let us know if you're here.
All right. Third time's the charm, Leah?
Hopefully.
Anjali, we will add your name in there if you can't see it. Vanity, we'll put your name in there.
For Davis.
Yes, I'm here.
Heba. Albert?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
All
Yes.
right. Congratulations.
There you are. All right, Albert, here comes your swag ticket.
Okay, so I see a lot of people saying that their names are not in here. So let me see my name. Okay. Okay, so Nicole, can you please send me like the updated
Yes,
list?
let me download it right now, Leah.
So we're going to be updating your names. And we can go ahead and do the next one because we have several goodies coming your way. So
all right, our next prize is a lightweight tote bag. Wakanda Forever logo from Disney.
Yeah, so we got that Disney connection going on thanks to Disney and yeah.
Right.
Yes, the meetings will be added to the archives, but you'll need to make sure you're registered so you get all of the meetings. And we have Anna. Is Anna here?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Anna. Coming your way now. Here's your swag exit ticket. Woo!
All right, the next one is UCLA Bruins through a t-shirt, a medium size. Okay, the next one.
Edem? Are you here, Edem? I see you in the meeting.
Do you see?
Is that a winner?
Yes, they are here. Go ahead and send it to them in the chat.
All right,
Okay.
congratulations. All right, our next one is a Teach Pad folio donated by via promotional. So let's see, here we go.
You may not see your name because you have to scroll all the way down. So we've downloaded it twice. So, and we have Gustavo. Are you here? Gustavo, I see you in the chat. Here comes your ticket.
All right. So let me pause a moment and stop sharing, and I'm gonna go and see. All right, we have our due list. Okay.
And while Leah is updating, I will just note that you do need to register for the individual sessions that you're interested in throughout the workshop series. So make sure you check your email and check the flip book and make sure you register for what you want to attend. We can't wait to see you all there.
Okay, I got everybody. You might not be able to see your name because you know it's not showing on the screen, but yeah, I got everybody's name now. All right.
The 2-day calendar is right up there in the flip book, William. I just put it in the chat. You can register for the 11 o'clock session. And the flip book, if you click on that link, you can do that. Gustavo, did you get the link for the ticket? You should be able to click on it in the chat and it'll take you right to that. Let me send it to you again.
All right, so moving on to the next one. A beanie, UCLA beanie. Okay, I know USC fans there. You might you might have been interested in that one, but it's a very nice beanie. Are you here with us, Letitia?
Nothing coming up in the chat. So
one more.
Paula? Nope.
All right.
Third time's a charm. This is for the beanie, right? Antoinette.
I'm here.
Yay!
Thank you so much. Thank
There
you.
you go.
Thank you so
Antoinette.
much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, our next one. Star Wars. Oh, I don't know if Steve's still here. All right.
Viola, we'll let you know about the certificate. You will be getting something that you can fill out, and we'll be giving that at the closing ceremony tomorrow evening. So thanks for asking that. And Albert, are you here?
He already won.
Oh yeah, you're right. He did.
Yes.
Thank
but
you.
I'm having trouble with the form. It's allowing me to edit your questions, but not answer your questions.
Let me try a new link.
Thank you.
Okay, should we try another person, right? Albert already won.
Yes, please.
All right, that's good.
Alessandra Ray.
Hey, are you here?
I'm here. Hi.
All right. Congratulations.
Alessandra, was it?
Yes, Alessandra Ray.
Okay.
There you are, Alessandra. Try this link, see if this works.
Is a baseball cap, Black Panther. Hope you have fans of Black Panther there. So here we go. Christina, let us know if you're here. Okay. I think we need
No,
to.
Christina?
Oh, I guess not. Okay, so next one. Juan Luis, are you here? Okay, more chances for other people. So here we go.
Leslie, are you here?
I'm here. Thank you.
All right, Leslie.
James, thank you so much. I agree with you. I can either sync or I can cheer on. We need sound effects.
All
right. The Jeopardy sound, if everybody does it.
You guys can hear
so
the sound, right? The applause.
I did. So Leslie got the Black Panther cap, right?
Correct, yeah. Right
Okay, now the next one.
Next
Here
one
we go.
is a pet folio. Ooh, donated by Disney again.
Woo! Ivana, there's going to be another opportunity drawing at the closing session tomorrow.
Let's see. Dora Martinez. Are you here? Yes, she is. Dora. Woohoo!
Is that your student, Nadia?
No, I'm just excited for her.
Congratulations.
I mean, anytime you win something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you able to fill this out? I'm just making sure that we resent the link.
Yeah, make sure the winners stay if you can't fill out the form, so that way we can get your information. Okay. So what's the next one? I think we are I lost my, okay, right here. Another lightweight tote bag from Disney also.
Woo!
We have about 5 more prizes.
Yeah, I saw him earlier. Are you here, Ron?
Yes, I am. Thanks.
Yay, congratulations.
James is gonna play a little bit of music for us on YouTube. I think what's happening is because Leia's doing the spinning of the wheel, and it's her computer's trying to pick up that and the sound.
Oh, you guys are not hearing the sound?
No.
Oh, okay. Let me.
That's what it is. It's okay. It happens. It's the Zoom.
Yeah, because maybe, okay, here we go.
Yeah. It's trying to do either or, Leia. It's happened to me.
Yeah, it's more exciting though with the sound, right? Okay. All right, here we go. The next one. How come I'm not seeing? Okay. The next one is another Star Wars spiral bound notebook. All right, for Star Wars fans out there, here we go.
Here we go. Oh,
there we go.
All right, James.
All right. Hope you're here.
Eli, is it Eli? And apologize if I didn't say your name correctly.
I don't see an Eli.
Okay.
All right, next one.
Catherine Castro. Catherine.
I see her name. Are you here, Catherine?
Maybe she can talk. Catherine, are you here? Yeah, she's there. Oh, she's in the chat.
Here you go.
Are
Here
you
you
at
go,
work,
Catherine.
She's probably in work or at class. One of
There
those
we
two.
go. All right, well, we got it.
Okay, next one is another UCLA.
Oh, that's a good one.
There we go.
Julia Canal. Julia. Nope. I don't
Not
see it.
here.
Oh.
Oh.
Wait. Yes.
Are you
No?
here?
Come on down, Julia.
I don't see a Julia.
No, no, Julia? Okay.
Nope.
All right. More chances.
Madeline.
Nope.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Nope.
no. Okay, one more time.
Third time's a charm.
Sharon. Sharon. Let me see. I'm trying to see if she's in the.
I see her in the.
I'm here. Sharon.
I'm here.
Yay.
Yay! We have a
There you go,
winner.
Sharon. See if you can fill that out.
All right, next one is another pad folio.
Woohoo! And it's red. It's a cute color. It's leather.
Disney, from Disney.
Okay. Sandra Gonzalez.
I see your name,
cool.
Sandra.
Cheering on.
Are you here, Sandra? I'm gonna assume she's here because I see her name. So.
Yeah, she's
Yes,
here.
I'm here.
Yay!
All right,
Yay, thank you.
congratulations. She's here. Okay, and this is our last one. So, but Remember, we have more prizes, even more
Tomorrow.
prizes in our closing session. So this is our final one, a $25 gift card donated by Rio Hondo. So here we go.
Steve.
He was like, I bet you Steve wanted the Star Wars.
Yeah, he must have left though. Oh no, well, we have to be fair, right?
And
Antoinette, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I can't fill out the swag form. It won't let me
Oh,
enter
I don't know
information.
what's good. That's so funny. Okay. If you can hang back, I don't know, Nicole, are you still here? Can you click on that form and see what's going on?
I am indeed. Antoinette, I have your email, so I will email you the form right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. If you want to hang back and just give me your email or just direct message it to me, to Ruth Ellis in the chat, we can grab it then. Didn't let you in either. So I'm taking notes. So who won the $25 gift card? That was Steve, right?
Yeah, but I think Steve is not here.
Yeah, he is.
If he is?
Yeah.
Oh,
Steve, are you here?
I'm here.
Albert,
Yes, I
Albert
figured
has
out
some.
I figured out a workaround for the form.
Oh,
If you will hit the send button at the top from your link, you can email it to yourself and then it will allow you to fill out the information.
Oh, thanks.
Someone has edited the form. So you might want to check on that as well, so you get the right questions.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let me do that.
Okay, and so Steve won our last prize.
Oh, wait, I see what you're saying here. This is weird. Wow. Let me add.
That was our last one, Leah. Like,
yeah, that was our last gift, but we're gonna have more in our closing session.
Right. I just want to send another reminder for those of you who are still here and you probably didn't register for the 11 a.m. session. We have our student panel. Our students are amazing, not because they're our students, but because they kind of represent everything that we work for. And so they're part of the CPTP program, and some of them are going to share their journey. Some of them are going to share what worked for them and how they've made it. We have some that have transferred out already and are at university. So come get inspired, come listen to us. It starts at 11 a.m. I am going to go ahead and put the link once more